Welcome back to the Mandy's Makings YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. This video is going to be all about creating a border for your legacy blanket. The last 2 weeks we learned how to create a legacy square, and we learned how to join our squares, which is this that I have laid out here. Here's the other side of it. You can see where we've joined. And this week, we're going to learn how to put a border around our blanket so that we can finish the blanket. A border is essentially a way of taking all of this work that you've done, putting the work into the square, the work into connecting the blanket, and then kind of finishing off your work. And that's what a border really is. It's a way to finish your work and make it look complete. We've talked about doing just one video real quick for me to show you how to put a border, but the more I thought about this and the more I've talked to a few of you, there are multiple borders that we viewed on some of our legacy blankets. And so I am going to actually do a series of videos showing you different borders that you can do on your blanket. So this week we're going to start off with just the simplest border you can put on a blanket. It's going to be the double crochet border, which is one of the borders that I go to for a blanket that I don't necessarily know who the blanket may be going to. A lot of many of you know the legacy blankets go to kids that are at risk for trafficking or kids in need. And so a lot of times when we create a legacy blanket, we may not know who the blanket is going to. And so my thought a lot of times is if it's a neutral blanket, a blanket that could be for a boy or a girl, I will a lot of times do a double crochet border so that no matter who gets it, it doesn't it's not specific to one or the other. And so today I'm going to teach you how to do that. Now once we move on into the next, I'm thinking that I say this each time we do a video or as we've started this legacy blankets from the very beginning. We started early last year. I've continued to say we'll just figure this out as we go. And I don't say that to just throw caution to the wind, but I think as we move forward, I've gotten more requests and more comments about different things that we've already done or things that people want to learn. And so I really want your feedback, and I want to know what it is that you would like to see or what you've seen on Mandy's Makings that maybe you want to learn more about. That's what these videos are all about. That's what this channel is all about. So I know a few of you have mentioned different borders that we put on the legacy blankets, and so that's why I thought what we would do is we'll start today by doing the double crochet border, and then over the next 2 weeks or the following 2 weeks, we'll do 2 other, I guess we would say more fancy or borders that you can put on a blanket, just so you can see the variety of the different looks. I don't know what I think I have an idea of the 2 that I'm going to show you guys, but I kind of want to look back at some of the legacy blankets that we've done in the past and see which ones have been more popular or that people have been more receptive to, so that as you do your blankets, you'll know that there are 3 that I can think of that I do the most, but I know that I want to make sure that the borders that I'm showing you are borders that you can use on many different things. So one of the other thoughts that I had, and something I just talked to someone else about, was even though these that we're showing you are the legacy blankets that go, or the squares that go onto our legacy blankets and connecting our blankets and putting the borders on them, you can use a granny square for nearly anything. So if you, let's say, wanted to use this and make another square piece just like this and then connect your edges and make this into a bag, you can do that. A legacy or a granny square, a legacy square, can be used for making so many things. Blankets, scarves. I think we've talked about this in the past. You can do bags. You can do a shawl. You could create a cardigan. There are so many things. And so my goal is to show you some of the borders that you can use on maybe a multiple things, not just a blanket, but you could put some of these borders on a on a bag, or you could put it on a scarf, or you could just whatever it is that you're making. And so that's the goal of this. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you today how to put the border on this one, and this is going to be just the simplest double crochet border that we use. So you'll notice that for mine, I have not woven in my ends yet on this blanket, and I'm going to show you real quick how I do that on this one. So we're just going to thread our needle with our yarn, and I like to, for when I'm going into these, to hide my ends from where I have connected my squares, I like to just go into the inside of this and go into the square, whatever square. Since my pink is matching this square, I'm going to go into that square, and I'm just going to weave in this in like I showed you last time. If you go back to the square, learning how to do a square, it shows you how to weave in the ends. But I just like to go back and forth, up and down, and kind of just weave in my ends, and then that way it hides it a little bit, and if you tug, it's not just coming out because it's only been gone through once. We've kind of moved it around a little bit, and so it's secured in there. It's secure better than just one way of slipping the yarn into there. And then if the kids, I was thinking about the kids pulling at the blankets, it won't come undone as easily. So we'll just snip that piece off. And I'm just going to go through real quick, and I'm going to finish weaving these ends, and I'll come right back to you guys. Okay, so we are back, and I have woven in all of the ends. You'll see that I've woven in all of these ends on these, on these corners, from where we were connecting the squares, and so that's all done. So now we get to start on our border. So I'm going to just pull a little bit of yarn out of this skein that I'm using. I'm going to continue to use this soft pink from Karen Simply Soft that we used for the squares and then to connect them. And then we're just going to create the border. Now, when I start off on a border, I always do a single crochet stitch around the entire piece first. It creates a foundation border for me to work with no matter what stitch I want to do as my border. It just kind of creates a clean line for me to begin with. And so for me, when I start a border, I always like to start at the corner of my blanket, and any of the corners will work. Just start at the corner, and I insert my hook and I pull up a loop. So we know a single crochet is just a yarn over and a pull through those two loops. Now we've connected this yarn to that corner of this square. Do you see this? So here we go. So we are going to create a single crochet border around this entire blanket that we've created, this little mini blanket that we've created here. So in order to create that, we're just going to go into each of the top. You'll see at the top of each of these, you've got these stitches where we've worked. So you see all your stitches, all of your V stitches are there. So you're going to go into each of your V stitches, and you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through a loop. And then you're going to continue to do that all the way around your blanket. So you're going to go in, and you're going to pull up a loop. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through both loops, and that's your single crochets. And just like we did in the past, when you get to this portion where you're in the middle of your two clusters, you're just going to do a single crochet into that one as well. So you're going to put your hook into that loop or into that space. You're going to pull up a loop just like you've done in the last few stitches. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through both of those loops, and you're just going to keep going like that down your square until you get to this piece, and then we'll meet back up there in a second. Okay, so now we have gotten to the end of this square. I've done my single crochet. You can see where I have put my single crochet border onto this square, and I've gotten to the middle of it here, and here is where these two squares connect. So I like to go into this stitch. There's a stitch right here. Just find that first loop and kind of stick your needle into there, or your hook into there. Do you see where you can see where you've done your stitches to connect your squares? So I'll just stick my hook into kind of the middle of that first one and pull up my loop. Just like that. Do you see where I've done that? So I put my hook into this first space, and I pulled up a loop and yarn over, and I pull through both of those loops. And then I go into this next corner, the corner of this next square that we're working in, put my hook in there and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And so now we've moved into the second square, but I like to put a stitch into that middle piece to kind of connect those 2 squares to keep going. And then you just continue on with your square like you did your last one. You're yarning, you're going into your space, pulling up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, going into your stitch and pulling up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And you're just going to continue on to that till the end, and then I'll meet you there at the corner and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so we have arrived at our corner stitch. I've done all of these just like I did the gray, so you can see where I've just started there and I've gone all the way down. Now I'm at my corner stitch, and so when you get to your corner, you're going to do 2 single crochets in this stitch. So you're going to do 1 single crochet in this stitch. So 1 single crochet in this corner, and you're going to chain 2. And then you're going to do another single crochet in that corner. And that chain 2 is going to help your corner turn. That's going to be your turning chain. And then you're going to just keep going just like you did this side. We're going to do on this side, we're going to make our corner, we're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in this corner. And then we're going to go down this side just like we did this last part. We're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet. And then we're going to do our stitches down this way. And then when we get back to the very beginning, I'll meet you back at the very beginning. Okay? Okay, so now we've arrived at the very beginning of where we started. This is where we started doing our border. And so I've just done a chain 1 into this corner space with this one. And I'm going to I've done a single crochet into the space. And so I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2, and then I am going to put a slip stitch into the top of this first stitch that we put into our blanket. So I'm going to put my hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to pull the loop all the way through my stitch so that way those 2 are now connected. And then I am going to chain 2. This is where we're going to actually start the border that we're putting on this blanket, which is the double crochet. So now you'll notice that this whole blanket has a single crochet stitch around it. You can see this whole blanket has the single crochet stitch. And the reason I like to do that is because it just creates a nice foundation for us to work with no matter what border you want to put on your blanket. So we're going to go ahead and start with the blanket today. We're going to do like I mentioned, the double crochet border on this blanket, and which is going to be just a simple double crochet around the entire edge of the blanket. And it's perfect if you're giving this to anyone, boy, girl, man, woman. This is just a great stitch to use for a simple border. So a double crochet again is yarn over, go into the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. It's just like we've been doing on our squares that we did. Same stitch. So you're just going to do that across the entire edge of the blanket, going into every stitch. And then on your corners, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to show you that when we get to our next corner. But we're just going to yarn over and go into this stitch, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Go into the next stitch, yarn over, go into that stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And you're going to keep doing that across this entire row or entire edge until you get to the very end. And then when we get to the corner, I'll show you what we're going to work into that corner. Okay, so I have finished this row. You'll see where I did all these double crochets on this edge, and now I've arrived at my corner stitch. So with doing a double crochet, for the single crochet in the corner, we did a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. With the double crochet, we're going to do 2 double crochets into that corner stitch. So you're going to go into where you put those 2 chain stitches. You're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, just like you would do the regular double crochet. But you're going to do 2 double crochets in there. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you've got 2 double crochets in this corner space. Then you're going to chain 2 to create the corner. You're going to turn, and then you're going to do 2 more double crochets in that same space. So 1, 2. So now for your corner, you should have right here 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And that will just allow this corner to lie flat. When you did your single crochet, you know that you did a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, but that was just because in the very beginning, I find that that just helps it keep it close enough to where it doesn't feel bulky in that area. But when we start actually doing the border, you're going to want to do that extra stitch right there, that 2, 2, and 2, so that you have that corner so that it doesn't start to curl up on you. And then you're just going to keep going. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to double crochet across this entire way. When you get to the corner, you're going to do again 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. You're going to do this entire area. Same thing, 2 double crochets, chain 2, do 2 double crochets, and then you're going to come back to this very end down here where we started, and I will meet you at the beginning where we started from. Okay, so we are back, and here I am. I have completed my last double crochet right here on this row, or on this edge, and now we're going to go into this last corner stitch here with 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and 2 double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on my corner. Double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet, and I've already cut my edge off of here so that I could have just this left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, now you've got this chain, the first set of chains that we used as our first stitch, which was a chain 3. Or a chain 2, and so you're going to go into the top of that chain just like you have been doing. You're going to pull that loop through, and then you're going to pull it through the stitch that was on your hook, and now you've created a slip stitch. So those stitches are joined. You're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through, and you're going to pull it. Now I've already cut mine, so I'm just going to pull it all the way through, and that's going to create a knot there, and you're just going to tug that tightly so that secures your yarn in that space. And so now you've created your border on your blanket. And this is the half double crochet border. And now you're all finished. Now you've learned how to do a legacy square. You've learned how to connect legacy squares, and now you've learned how to place a border on your legacy blanket. And next week, I am going to show you another way to put a border on your blanket. Don't forget, we're going to do the single crochet as your foundation, and then we're just going to learn a new stitch to do as your border so that you can also, the more you learn, I like to sometimes do a multiple amount of rows as a border. So you could always do single crochet, double crochet, and then do something else here. So it could be that you learn all 3 borders and you just add them all together, or you just do one. Totally up to you. But I will see you next week, and we'll learn another way to do a border on a blanket. Have a good one. Thanks, guys.